are very fortunate tonight to have Dave Klug with us, and he came out in the cold to share his illustrations with us. He's a native from Pennsylvania, not this end, but the other end, right? He's an illustrator, a fine artist, musician, and businessman. He wears many hats. He's an award-winning illustrator, and he's appeared in publications for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Time, and Highlights for Kids. He created over 25 murals for Primanti Brothers restaurants, including the original one in the Strip District location. And he's on call as a courtroom artist for CNN and NBC. I've never met one of those. That's like really cool. Yeah. He's a drummer for Red Beans and Rice Combo, Spuds and the R-52s, and The Reckoning. So 3 bands?
4?
4 bands. Along with his wife Patricia, they've converted a 100-year-old church rectory in Carnegie into their home studio and gallery and call it Double Dog Studios. It's a very, very cool place. Has a really neat gift shop too. And you have the 2 dogs, do you not?
We do.
He has the actual 2 dogs to go with the name. So without further ado, take it away, Dave. It's your turn.
So is this already set up and I could just start changing the pages? Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to put on the microphone. Can you hear that? Can you hear me now? Good. All right. Well, thanks for having me. Like you said, my name is Dave Klug. I've been an artist all my life. My earliest memories are lying in front of the TV, 3, 4 years old with a coloring book and coloring, watching whatever, Ed Sullivan, Lawrence Welk, you name it, whatever was on.
How many channels did you have?
What's that?
How many channels?
3 channels. 3 channels, yeah. But and I've always wanted to be an artist, and I kind of made that happen. This past weekend, or the couple of days ago, Saturday Night Live had a show on TV, and there was a little part on a red carpet. They were talking to Jimmy Fallon, and they were talking about him and how, being on SNL and now The Tonight Show. And he said he knew when he was a little kid, he wanted to be on Saturday Night Live because he's young enough, he knew the show. But he wanted to be on that show, be a comedian. And so when he was a little kid, he had a birthday party. He would wish to be on Saturday Night Live. If he went anywhere, they had a fountain, throw a coin in, he would make a wish to be a comedian and on TV. And talk about coming true. I mean, that guy is driven, he is so entertaining. But I feel kind of the same way. I knew what I was going to do, and I'm just doing it. And so I'm kind of talking tonight about being a working artist from day one, really, because it's really difficult to be an artist. And so you really have to make it happen. Nobody's going to, you might get lucky once in a while, get a whatever commission or jobs or whatever, but it's still really hard. So I'm going to start and show you a little bit here. How much time do I have, by the way? As much time as I can.
Yeah.
All right, before
we usually at least a good hour,
Okay.
But it's up to you.
All right, so let's see if this works. If it's correct. So that's me.
That's still you.
That's still me. Here we go. Ready?
Yes.
All right, can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is some brand new work I'm working on right now. I'm trying to, work on my skills of equestrian skills. Not really. This is I was probably 7 years old. And this is what I used to do. I would draw, This reminds me of a good friend, an old friend and an artist. His name was Vint Blackburn. He was 90 years old. He died last year, 2 years ago. But he was the most energetic guy. He was more energetic than 20-year-olds I know, and so creative all the time. And he told me this little proverb or whatever that I love. And he would say, if you want to make a sculpture of a horse, you just keep whittling away until it looks like a horse. And it's so true. You just got to keep working at it. So it's really funny that horse reminded me of Vint, though. But So this is some of my early work. Dog. And I'm writing my name.
Landscape.
So landscape. So I'm involved and I'm creating these stories. Like I'm in my own world here, you know. So all this stuff is going on. There's a guy building his house. The other thing that is very apparent is my sense of humor and how I like to convey that. And so like even this early stuff, you know, here's the kid is fishing.
Pulling a boot out?
So he's pulling the boot up. There's a fish jumping. It's smiling. It's all happy. Not only is that going on, but over behind him, the can of worms, the worms are escaping from the can.
Oh, cute.
Did you have
This
brothers and
was-
sisters?
I did. I was the baby. Yeah. So this is some fine portrait work from that period. Also from a World War II book or something. I don't know. So here's another scenario I created in my head. So here's a storm coming, you know, and this giant pine tree is falling over on top of the house, and the guy's trying to hold the tree. Not only is that happening, inside in the bathroom is grandpa with all of his hair standing up because he knows the tree is falling. So I went from that to reading a lot of Mad Magazine. Mad Magazine was
Things are answered right now.
like it really was like my Bible. I mean, and those artists were so good. You know, this cover here is Mort Drucker. Mort Drucker passed away in 2020, but he is the caricature guy of all time, I think, besides Hirschfeld. But all the artists in Mad Magazine, you know, Sergio Aragonés and George Woodbridge, you know, some very odd people. Don Martin with his crazy guys with the big noses and stuff. They were so good. And I would trace them. I would, because my sister was going to art school, so I had access to tracing paper. So I would trace them to like learn like how to break it down. Like how are they drawing that, you know? It's like, oh. So once you trace it a little bit, you get the idea of it, of how to do it. So just more Mort Drucker. Again, just amazing. And I was lucky enough to meet him once or twice, so. And so we go now to where I'm going to art school, and I go to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. And this is in 1983. And so there's a teacher there by the name of Henry Kerner, and this is Henry. And Henry was a wild guy. He was already probably in his 70s here, but he was like a little Viennese German who escaped World War II.
My instructors too, I'm excited.
And so he was such a personality, and he would just curse, you know, and everything. That's fucking shit. What the hell is that? You know, he would just like put you down right there. Everything was like that, and. But he instilled such this creativity. I mean, he was everywhere. He was like in museums, and, you know, they were so lucky to have him, and I was so lucky to have him. And so I kind of gravitated towards him, of course. And so he had classes where everybody had to draw from life all the time. And he would like take a life drawing and then add it to a different drawing that he did and make these crazy compositions of things. But he really instilled that drawing part. And mainly because that's what he did. He painted from life all the time. This is him during World War II. He made it out of Germany, and when he got here, he actually joined the army. He joined like I forget what the department was called, the U.S. something, the SS something. I don't know what it was, but it was for promotional things and things like that. So he made posters for the army. And the other thing that he did was he actually did courtroom drawings because he was so adept at drawing on the spot and doing life things. So this is Nuremberg. This is Hess and Goebbels. Or is that Goering? I think that's Goering and Hess. But anyway, he was there with the U.S. Army doing courtroom sketches at Nuremberg, which is just amazing. And so that also sparked something in me, like, it's like, wow, this guy is like, that's amazing. So I drew, this is probably from school, but I was always drawing. And so I would, not only take figure classes and experiment with like different brush strokes and different techniques and things like that, but I always went back to just drawing with a pen and paper. And so I would just draw all the time. Like it didn't matter what the subject matter was, I just was drawing. And you can see by my hand there, the sketchbooks are small. I have small books. I like to draw small. And so this is a typical, I have loads of bus drawings. I was always going to school. I would go to school on the bus. And so I was always drawing people on the bus. And the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, let me see, where am I going here? Yeah, see, here's, again, I'm just drawing all the time. There was this woman who was blind, had her dog. This is 1980, whatever, 3, 4, and I don't know what her name was, but she was always out, playing and playing for money. And she was super nice. The dog was super nice. I told her I was drawing her. I didn't have to, I guess, because she wouldn't really know. I probably gave her something there. This was Leroy. He has Leroy on his hat, I think. But again, I was drawing all the time, and I would just ask people, hey, can I draw you? I was doing caricatures a lot at the Arts Festival, so I was always interacting with people also, and that didn't bother me. So I just filled sketchbooks. And I still, like I said, carry them all the time, but I don't draw as much as I want to. I have lots of ideas, but... and then this is a courtroom sketch, again, very similar to what Henry did of the German stuff, but this is one of the first ones because at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, they had a really cool little office down there that was an employment agency. And people would always call, like the news station called one day to the Art Institute and said, do you have somebody who can draw, like in court? And so I was really good friends with these two, David DeBella, and I forget the woman's name, she was fantastic. But they knew I drew all the time and I was, talented or whatever, I could draw. And so they recommended me, and so I started drawing for Channel 4 News, And this was an awful case, an awful child abuse case in Emmitsburg. Yeah, he should have been. I hope he's dead, but aside from doing the courtroom stuff, there wasn't that much of that. So I had to do other things, and so I also enjoyed the humor part and creating the stories. So I was really good at solving these concept pieces. And so I start promoting. I was like, what do I want to do? I want to be in magazines. I want to be in newspapers. So I'm going to make it happen. And so I start creating these little promotional pieces. Very simple. This was a, what is that, a 3-fold or something? Black and white. And then I would put my stamp on there. And back then you could actually buy a list. People actually had addresses then. Now you don't know where anybody is because half the people don't even work in an office, or it's so hard, and email is just junk now. They don't even look at emails. So, but back then you could get addresses, you could, and so I would buy some address labels off somebody for whatever, $40, and get a list of 200 people or something, because they would be doing this kind of the same thing, And so I would send these out to all these magazines that I wanted to work for. And so, lo and behold, they start calling, But every time I would do a little bit of work, I would upgrade. I would do another one. I would do this. The next one was in full color. So I put some of that money back in and did another one. And so that kind of kept going. And here's one more of the brochures here, little brochures, and you could pass those around in here. And so those were pretty successful. And in 1996, my son was born, and I was like, I need to like bump up the work I got. You know, like paying the mortgage is all good and dandy, but I need more money than that. And so, again, I thought about I need to promote more stuff. I need to, you know, make it happen. And so I started doing these calendars, so I don't have to be sending stuff out all the time. I can send out one thing and they'll keep it all year long, right? Right? They'll keep it on their desk. If it's cool enough, they'll keep it. And so we did these calendars where they have like the little thing on there, and you could, you know, you flip it. And so every one is a new illustration. And so I start doing these, and these were very successful, so I kept doing them. And they kept getting crazier, like this, like, you know, this see-through plastic cover with just the dots on the back. I was trying to like always do something a little bit more fun, you know, change the design a little bit. Same thing here. And then they did start to get expensive, because everything does. This was, I think, the last one I did, but this one was a really cool one. It was the Dave Klug 365 Days of Fun calendar. And so this one, I know you can't see these when on the Zoom meeting, but so it's these little pieces here, and you can change little, you know, what they are.
Dave, I swear I used to get paper samples from companies and they would have these things, like, you had like all their bells and whistles that they were.
Oh, right, and so, yeah, because like art directors love paper, and they want to see things like printed and stuff, you know, so here I'm going to throw all this at you too. So these are these calendars, and I stopped doing them because it just got too expensive, and shipping was going up, and it was, but I remember, you know, my wife and I sitting at the dining room table, you know, putting labels on, putting stamps on, you know, hundreds of things, you know, all the time. So there's a bunch of the calendars there. And back then, some of the stuff I was getting was strange magazines, like this is like Canoe and Kayak magazine, but they still need a little drawing, a little spot illustration, you know, in black and white. And also on these pieces, there's an evolution of hand-drawn with paint and watercolor to computer, you know, within that span there. So this is some of the early stuff where I'm still drawing and using paint and things like that.
So when did you go digital?
I went digital in 1999. Yeah. This is, I think, like Time for Kids or Scholastics or something like that. But again, at the bottom there of the pages, you see those 4 little spots. I used to do a lot of spots. Just little 2-inch things, you know. And they were great because they added up quick. You know, like 300, 300, 300, you know, it's like all of a sudden you're at $2,000. I was like, fantastic. All right. And so there's one of those spots I blew up there. Again, the sense of humor is coming through all this stuff. You know, the bobsled team going through the drive-through at McDonald's because of that little blurb. And so it's also fun to get these projects. I always love getting a new job. When people call, you know, and I still get jitters, like I still get goosebumps when they call and talk to them. Because it's like, oh, yeah, this is so cool, you know, like they're calling me to like do art.
They're paying me to do art.
Right. And some stuff was like pretty stupid and crappy. Like this is actually like coupons or something. I did the backgrounds for the coupons. But I do everything. I never say no, which is probably a bad thing, but I don't know. Here's another piece. This is hand drawn. This is like me with markers and then I start scanning it and putting it into Photoshop. And then this is where I switched over to Illustrator. you can see that some transparent stuff and things like that. So I started experimenting a bit more. And then, so this is the cover for Barron's. When I was doing all these self-mailers and these promotion things, again, I would have these lists of people. And it's like, the same people, art directors of these magazines. And there was always this one, and it was Pamela Budz, and her B-U-D-Z at Barron's Magazine, And so every time I would put her name on one, for years, I'd put her name on there, say, I don't know why she doesn't call me. I don't know why she doesn't call me. And then, years later, she called me. And I said, Pam, I've been waiting for your call. Right. It was funny because it's truly what I said to her, It was, and she gave me a cover. So I started doing a bunch of stuff for Barron's. I did a couple of covers and a whole bunch of spots. And I still, last year, 2 years ago, I still had done something for Barron's. It's not as much. It used to be a lot. I used to work for Wall Street Journal and Barron's and like a lot. And they would call, whatever day it was, they would call Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock and say, here's the story. We need 3 little spots. And we need to have roughs by 1 o'clock and the finishes by 4. Same day. And I'm like, all right, that sounds fantastic, That was great. I loved that. So I don't do that much anymore. Everything now takes forever. Everything now is so stretched out. But that was always fun. There's another Barron's. So here's another sketchbook. So I still loved my on-the-spot drawing stuff and all that. I still am not going to go away from that. And I still paint and everything. But I wanted to try to do something besides all these little spots, because there's a lot of people doing these little cartoons also. So I was trying to do something maybe a little bit different. And so I'm trying to capitalize on my drawing ability, So I put together another thing. But this was a little bit different. A friend of mine found or had an old mugshot book of these mugshots, So I did a bunch of sketches, and I put together a little sketchbook. And I, again, sent these out to a select few people that I really wanted to work for,
So do you just combine like drawing from life with your imagination to get some of those little spots that are kind of made up?
Yes. Yes, I use everything as influence all the
Do
time.
you have to stop then and look for references? Like you say, oh, I don't know how to draw that.
Oh, yeah.
Any detail?
I'm always looking at reference all the time. And even when I draw cartoons, if it's a cartoon or something, I still have to draw it. Like I'll draw it to figure out what it is. If I have to draw like a farm tractor, I'll look at the tractor and I'll draw it like a normal drawing, okay, there's a body, there's a this and this, so I can break it down. So then once I do it as a cartoon, I was like, I only need this part and I only need that part, and, And so here we are again. I want to push this new style. All right, I want to start drawing on the spot because I just want to, And so I hire myself to go to Paris and to draw for a week. And so that's what I do. And so I go to Paris and I just walk around the city and draw the whole time. And when I come back, I turn it into this promotional piece. And I was working with a lot of people. And I had, lots of friends in advertising. My wife was in advertising, and so I knew all these people in design firms and advertising agencies. And so I would ask really good people to help me with the designs of these things. And so this one guy, Dale McNutt, who was fantastic, he just moved to Maine, did this piece for me. And so the outside, what you're looking at there is this green foil stamp or whatever that is, embossing on the outside cover of it. But so again, I made whatever. I maybe made 500 of these and sent these to people I wanted to work for. I sent them to, like all the big magazines back then, which was, there were a lot. There was, everything was a magazine. This year was, let's see. Oh, I don't know. It's probably still in the 90s. Yeah, because I'm still drawing. But anyway, so I put together this book and sent that out to these people that I wanted to work for. Like I said, I mean, you name it, like top quality magazines. There was a lot of magazines back then. All right. So again, nothing happens. I'm all excited, and then nothing happens, right? Until like almost a year. I'm like, oh, well, this is stupid. That was like a stupid waste of money. I'm never going to do that, again. But I got a phone call from Esquire magazine. And so I start doing a monthly thing for Esquire magazine. They did not send me anywhere. Like my whole goal was for them to like pay for me to go somewhere and draw my, but that didn't happen. But they liked the style. And so I started doing these drawings from photographs that they would give me. And I never really liked that because it was just from photographs. I did get a few jobs. I went to Boston for Kiplinger's magazine to do some big board meeting, something. I don't know what the hell it was, but that's what it was. I mean, it was like, corporate, and it was fine, but
Did they give you freedom with that? If they give you a photograph, did they expect you to copy the photograph, or did they?
No, they wanted me to do my rendition of it. Yeah,
interpret it your way.
Yeah. And look at this. Do you see that? This is a watercolor paper taped on a mat board with a heavy cover, and I would do that and FedEx it to them back in the day, and send them fax roughs. Can you believe all that? That was crazy. And like FedEx, I was going to FedEx all the time because they wanted the artwork, and they would scan it. Like that doesn't happen anymore. Plus, I work on the computer, so I just send everything electronically.
Sure.
But it was so funny because the extent, because like I look at my artwork that I put into sending this stuff to make it look as good and professional as I could, with the cover and the mat and the thing. So that's fun. And then we get into some kid stuff. So I like to say with my career that I work from Sesame Street to Wall Street and all avenues in between. That's like my little tagline, because it's true, because one day I'm working on highlights, the next day I'm working on Wall Street Journal. I mean, it's the way it is. So I was doing a whole lot of hidden pictures and stupid puzzle shit for highlights. And I was really nice, and we got along really well, And so they had this project, it was called Which Way USA, and they had done it like in the 70s or something like that. So every state had a book, like a puzzle book for each state, and it was like some characters that were consistent throughout the whole book, or throughout all the books. And so they were going to revise this. They were going to do like the new version of it, of Which Way USA, because it was so popular. And so they hired 10 illustrators, 9 illustrators, something like that. We each got like 5 or 6 books to do. And they were like full books, like 30 pages of puzzles and stuff. And so what they did, they went out and they got some models for their characters. And so they shot a whole bunch of photos of these kids, and then they sent these photos to the artists to do their impressions of them, to keep them kind of consistent, Everybody had their own style, but they were still this characters. All right? And so there's the kids, and this is my first attempt here of doing that. And we even went as far as to do a couple of mock-ups. And so this is like a typical rough sketch of a hidden picture. This is a 2-page spread hidden picture. The petrified forest or something. This is like kind of what I would send them. So you can see that some things are highlighted here, you know, where stuff is hidden. And then there's the finished piece. And there's like 20 hidden objects in there, I don't know. But again, you can see there's these different characters also. There's always going to be these also other characters. It's like a race. It's like the great race, you know, like that concept. And so that didn't go very well, the first pass of those kids. And so we got a little bit more closer to reality. And so this was my second version of them, which is pretty close to reality, you know, but still fun and cartoony. And then these were all the other characters that I created. I mean, they said, you know, these two should be like Sherlock Holmes kind of characters. And, you know, these two are like botanical, you know, so. But, so I did, like I said, 5 or 6 books. There was always a cover, and then there was a whole bunch of stuff on the inside. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You know, just the pencil sketches.
Yeah.
Like, I hate doing roughs. I hate sending people roughs. It's like, oh, it's such a, you know, it kills me all the time. It's like, why do I have to, I can't help it that you don't understand my chicken scratch, you know? But I do. So there's a typical one there. There's like these puzzles and mazes I have to figure out. They're always really hard. Mazes, like an actual maze, is really hard. You know, I would spend hours trying to figure out this maze, you know, like killing myself, and then send it to them, and they say, oh, it's too simple. Can't you make it like with a couple of other things in there? And it's like, I just spent all this time doing this one, you know. And I still do some of that stuff, you know. And it still drives me crazy. But I still say yes. So I'm doing a whole bunch of different things all the time. So this is, what was this company? I think it was just called the Popcorn Company or something like that. I don't know what it was. But I was working with a guy in Ohio. He asked me to do like a what do you call it? The Oktoberfest poster. You know, and so I did this Oktoberfest poster. Then he was working with this company that was the popcorn and all this stuff. And so he called me, and so they were going to create all these characters for all they have all these flavors, you know. And so I probably did like 40 flavors of popcorn with all these like little, you know, pickle, what's that, peppermint, you know, salt and vinegar. So like whatever flavor you can imagine. So again, this is a computer, this is Illustrator. I'm working in Illustrator now. So it's all with these really consistent, clean lines, you know, and it's very easy to see on the computer. It's very easy to print. I just love working in Illustrator. So now fast forward just a couple of years ago, and that same guy starts working for Cheryl's Cookies, which are really good cookies, you know. And it's funny because he told me, he said once he got the job and started working for him, he gained 40 pounds because he was eating cookies all the time. But this was a recent, welcome to Dropbox. We need to get rid of that. Later. Gator. Okay, so here's a recent, like I said, like 2 years ago, I did this. And it was like a whole set of like 24 cookies or something. And there's the whole inside part. So I do the illustration work, they design it and they use it, you know, separate it out and do whatever they want to do with it. I had to ask for cookies, and then I had to pay for, they only sent me one box, you know. And then but it was really good because I sent these out to clients. Because I'm always like, you know, I like to keep the promotion wheel going. So to some of the top clients, I'd sent 2 dozen cookies for Christmas time, you know. Because a lot of the people that I work for, I've been working for years. because we get along and they know I get the job done. I'm making it easier for them, actually. That's how I look at it. This is for falling water. What's the, I forget the name of the business entity. What's that? No, well, anyway. But they were asking me to do some drawings for they were going to work on some book ideas and things like that for their gift shop. And so I did this of Frank Lloyd Wright. Again, there's the sketch, the initial sketch, and here he is finished up. And this is an Illustrator. You can see I've kind of eliminated all my line work. I used to draw my line work first, like black line, and then color it in. I'm eliminating all the black line. You know, it's only on details now that really need it. But I love flat shapes and these. I just love that. So here's Edgar Kaufman Jr. So here's a bunch of sketches. And then here's a finish. And I had done a few of those. I don't know if I did all of them. I did a handful of those, though. But I just love breaking it down into like little bits. And I just loved the effect on his hair that I got by making those two little squiggly lines, because he had like that classic tight wave Italian hair, you know, whatever that was. You know, and I thought I captured that really well. Just by those couple of little things. This was for the Hartford Courant, a newspaper in Hartford, Connecticut. And I used to do a lot of stuff for them too, because it's Dunkin' Donuts Stadium. That's how you know it's, yeah. So I did this, and this will come back later on here, but that was a fun one. Nice 2-page spread, I think, you know. And again, using Illustrator, it's just, I just love it. This was a spot illustration for somebody, I don't know, about saving money.
Oh, right.
And so you could save $5 a day
Yeah.
by doing this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now
That's-
it's like $10 a day.
Well, you can save $10 a day by not doing this, right? It's amazing. I keep telling my daughter that. Here's something for. I started doing some work for like this food business company. Like everything they did was like for the business of food, you know. This was the directory guide. So again, figuring it all out for them, all the different departments and whatever, and trying to include everybody, you know.
So do they give you pictures or something like that, or do you get a list of things to include just for?
They give me like a catalog, like the actual catalog,
Oh, okay.
you know, and like with all like the parts, you know, like the meat slicer and the, you know, like whatever. It's like there is some reference, but like it's not reference that I can just draw from.
Yeah.
You know, it's a visual reference. You know, like I know. You know, like I know that they use like these tall shelves to cool the things on, you know, things like that. But yeah, so much of it is thinking. I spend so much time thinking and scribbling. Like been working on a couple of projects recently, and it's like days go by, and it's like I didn't get anything done because I'm just sitting thinking and trying to figure out the concepts, you know, like that, because that's so important. Here's a fun one this was for the American Bar Association, one of their magazines. It was about this, it was a Chinese rock band, and they called themselves Slant or something like that. And there was like this huge, right, but this was the story. And like there was like this huge lawsuit of some sort and, you know, whatever. And so this was my illustration to go along with that story. This is for Mad Mex. Again, being in Pittsburgh all this time, I've try to associate myself with people that I want to be associated with. And, you know, I used to do a lot of stuff at the Balcony and Hot Licks in Shadyside 30 some years ago. I used to do all their table tent cards and what, you name it. You know, my wife Patricia and I would do most of the illustration, of course, but, you know, murals and stuff. But that was like the best gig because I never got paid. They just said, just come and whatever you eat or drink, just sign the check. And that's it. And just tip everybody, you know. And so for years, we would go, because we lived on the East End, you know, we would go there. All my buddies were there. My buddies were bartenders there, you know, so we were there all the time. And so we would eat and drink all we wanted, like nothing crazy, but you know, but still. And so I'd get the check and I would sign my name, you know, and I would sign it all the time I would do a little self-portrait with me with a big smile on my face. You know, and sign it. And so that was a good run. That was fun. But this is with Mad Mex, and they're super nice to me too. Not like that, but they do pay, and they give some gift cards and things like that. This was for Time for Kids magazine. This was really funny. This was like all these like super long German words that are like real German words that are like that, like that. The Danube Steamship Company captain is all that one word. It's crazy. Yeah. So again, that's all they gave me. They said this is what is going to be the highlighted for the words. You have 7 inches by 5 inches, and you need to make the words go in there too somehow. It's like, okay, so again, try to figure out the composition of who's going to fit where, how are you going to do this? This was for Animal Friends. And so again, the illustrator, I tried to make it super simple, but this was for a fundraiser a few years ago. And they had, it was the cat and the dog and the rabbit. These characters were consistently in a few different things. And this one I thought was really funny because the cat, they're at the tattoo shop, and the cat got a little anchor on his arm. And now, but the rabbit wants the big dragon. This was for Boys Life magazine. Umpire signs. Again, it's like whatever. You know, this was fantastic. I loved getting this project. You know, it's like it's so like different. You know, and kids will love it. Like kids will. I'm trying to make it understandable for the kids. You know, it's for the kids, Jerry. But the good thing here, again, I'm working an illustrator, so I kind of kept his torso and head the same. Chopped off his arms, put different arms on him. You know, you kind of copy and paste, move it over there. You know, you do the background. It's just fantastic. So this is a mural I did, which is gone now, but it was at the PPG Paints Arena. And this was, I got hired by Highmark. Hired me to do this mural, and it was like 100 feet long. It was this whole, like over by the Captain's Morgan Club or something. It was like this big, crazy pie-shaped stretch wall, you know, that went around the corner, you know, like it was like curved even. And this was my first initial sketch for it. So that's a pencil there, and again, drawing on tracing paper, you know. But I kind of figured it out. If you look at the finish and you look at this, they're actually pretty darn close in the composition of what's going on, you know. So I'll start off, and each time, as you can see, I keep getting a little bit bigger. And if it's a complicated thing, I'll do a sketch, then I'll scan it, I'll blow it up, and then I'll trace that. And then once I trace that, I'm kind of happy with some of those things. I keep doing that same process, and I'll blow that up again. until it gets to like this gigantic size. So I've already like blown this up probably, I don't know how many times, you know, where I'm starting now to get really into some of the crazy detail here and all the little people and
So
the.
did you actually have to paint it, or you just designed it?
Oh no, I did it in Illustrator. And so here I am, and I have
No, I mean on the wall.
on the wall. They put it up like wallpaper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like yeah. I mean, I don't paint much on the walls anymore. I mean, if this is so good,
Kim does, she does walls.
yeah, yeah,
I like scissorless.
yeah. Do you? I like scissor kicks. So here it is. So I break everything down there. This is like all the layers. So everything, like the buildings are on a layer, the background's on a layer, people are on a different layer, so I can work on stuff. But this is the full piece. So you remember that little sketch, you know? But it goes all the way to fall, like out wherever this is. I don't know where the hell that is. But there's so many details in here. And this was the one time I actually had somebody help me. I called a guy by the name of Chuck Dillon, who is the best hidden picture artist out there, I think, today. And he is so good. And I called him and I said, hey, can you help me? I just need like a lot of filler people, like, because he was so good at a little bit just like people, you know. I just need like some filler people, like a family doing walking, whatever, you know. I just need, if you can give me a bunch of people, it would be fantastic. I can trace over them. And he did. Oh, I forgot to bring this. God damn it. I was going to bring this piece. This is only a little snippet of a piece. This is like nothing. Is it there? It's not there. So AIP, Art Institute of Pittsburgh, called me before they closed, and there was like some big anniversary. I don't know how many years, 50 years or something. And by that time, they were like doing culinary, they were doing the makeup thing, they were doing the fashion, they were doing everything, you know. And so they wanted to celebrate, and so they hired me to do this poster, and it was I should have brought it, huge poster, and so intensely detailed, all this stuff everywhere, you know, like all these scenes, every artistic scene you could imagine, you know, and connected also. Like it was like a restaurant with the chef, and then there was like somebody photographing the food, and then there was, you know, it was like this whole, it was just went on and on and on. So I'm really sorry I didn't bring that. So it made me drink is what it made me do. No, this is with Wiggle Whiskey. So this is another great client that I really enjoy. And I got recommended to do this, and this was for a special Strip District Reserve whiskey or bourbon or whatever it was, a 6-year-old bourbon or something. And so I did the illustration for the front and for the back, and I made the front like the daytime with all the people buying, and I did the back of the bottle like it was like nighttime with all the warehouse guys delivering. So it was like a concept kind of a thing, you know? And it was really cool, and people really liked it, and I was like, this would be like a really cool poster. So I kind of combined the front and the back to make this poster, so I expanded it, you know, made it bigger, you know, expanded the territory, I should say, and made them all together. Again, this is an Illustrator. You can see some texture at the top and stuff like that. So sometimes I'll take my Illustrator and open it up into Photoshop and just do a little bit of roughing it up, add some color, erase some things, you know. Remember that Dunkin' Donuts? Mm-hmm. I redid it for Pittsburgh.
Somebody hit a home run.
And I put, you know, Clemente's number on there. Again, this is for sale. That's why I sell a lot of prints and things like that. So I thought this would be a good seller. It is a good seller, you know, relatively. But again, it was pretty easy because of Illustrator. I used the same picture and stuff like that. It's like kind of all the same, different city. Another Wiggle. So since we did the Strip District Reserve, and they knew my work and the whimsical part of it, they were doing the it's called Phil's Shadow for Punxsutawney Phil. So they do a special blend for that and sell it at that time of the year. And they had done a couple that weren't very good looking. And then they called me 3 years ago, and I've done the past 3 years with them. And this year, it was like Groundhog's Day was actually on the weekend for the first time. It's like within a span of like 8 years or whatever. It was only on the weekend once. And so like the guys, because the guys, the inner circle, they come down to Wiggle. They bring the groundhog to Wiggle. When they have a party every year, you know, they all get like blasted. And the poor groundhog, he's like in like this plexiglass tube, you know, just like trying to get out, you know, the whole time. I just want to free him.
Is it
But
a
that would
different groundhog every year?
probably. I don't
You didn't recognize
I don't know. I didn't recognize them.
They all look the same.
Right. But this year I went up because there was going to be, they had like 40,000 people at the Groundhog Gobbler's Knob this year. So I went up, and because Wiggle goes up, and so they set up a tent. And so they said, why don't you go up, you know, with Wiggle? You'd be great, you know? And so I took a tent and I set up next to Wiggle and sold a bunch of stuff. I made a bunch of posters, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah. And so many people are there because it's their birthday. It's so weird. I had like 3 or 4 people in a row. It's like, hey, it's my birthday, you know. It's like if your birthday is February 2nd, you have to go to Punxsutawney at some point in your life, you know.
It's so strange, they have the library, and they have a glass window on the wall of the library, and that's where they keep the groundhogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they have like a little. It's
Yeah,
like
now they're making a little-
giant gerbil terrarium.
Right, and they're expanding it now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, yeah.
No, they're in the library.
They feed them books when
They're very well read.
And so this was, can I go back? Yeah. So this was the label, as you can see, and then I just transposed the artwork into a poster. So I made a couple of different posters,
That's great.
you know, and printed them up and then sold them up there. But isn't he cute?
It's adorable.
And I love his little finger holding the hat. You know, he's like so proper. You know.
His little bow tie.
And so, same deal. All these things start out with a little sketch. Like postage stamp. Like think postage stamp, because if you can't make it work, the size of a postage stamp, it's not going to work. That's what I think. Like the composition or whatever you're doing, if you can't figure it out how it should lay, then it's not going to work. But so, and then I just keep, like I said.
Oh, have you done postage stamps?
No, I would love to do a postage stamp.
You should do that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
But I met, what was his name, Mark Stutzman. He did the Elvis stamp, the classic, you know, the Elvis stamp. You know, I met him one time. Aw, there's Phil. Aw.
Yeah.
Are they friendly or like tame or?
Well, if you look at the guy's arms, no. Yeah. But this is the one guy.
No.
There's another guy that doesn't do that, but this guy must have had some bad history with Phil. Because he has these big things that's like coming out of like, you know, Planet of the Apes or something, you know, like those.
With the tufts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a really nice project I did with PNC Bank. So PNC Bank, every year they do something called the Christmas Price Index. And that is the 12 days of Christmas, how much it would actually cost. So if you actually bought a partridge in a pear tree, how much would it be? You know, and if you bought whatever, you know, all these things. Right. And so if you actually, and this was 6 years ago, whatever. And this past year, they asked me to do it again. So it's actually probably on the web now. If people go to PNC Bank Christmas Price Index, they'll see the new ones that are animated, and they're very simple. They've changed their, did you see all their marketing now? It's like orange and gray. So I had to make everything orange and gray, which was so Christmassy. You know, and very simple, but it worked because I love limited color. That was fine by me, you know. I love having 2 colors. Give me 2 colors and I'm good. But this was years ago, and this was the first time, and so they didn't want the typical Partridge in the Pear, you know, the classic stuff. So they call me to make it my whimsical twist on it all. And so here's my crazy, you know, I'm getting into like a lot of these weird little shapes and stuff like that. Like even like this stuff like the border around the one, there's a lot of thought process into that. After I did all these, they actually animated them. They gave it to another group that, because I work in Illustrator, and I'm good at layers, so I put things on different layers. Like the bird is probably on a layer, and the background's on a layer, and everything. So if you're animating, that's what makes it easy. So like they made like the pears jingle, and they made his little hat go up and down, and things like that.
Oh, these are great. I love
Yeah,
these.
this year's?
Is that this year's?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was-
Wow, they're
Yeah.
really different.
Yeah, they're very different.
Wow.
They kind of dictated that, which was fine. Again, you know.
Makes it easy for you when they're specific, right?
Yeah, I'd rather direction than just floundering, and then at the end, then it's all wrong.
Yeah. You like this? No. Well, how about this? Or how about this? Or,
Right,
Yeah.
right. And they're all true professionals, you know. They want to get it done too, and they want to, you know. So here's the rest of the days.
Oh.
So again, they're very detailed, lot of work. But I'm sure they were. What's that?
Do you always have to do the lettering or something?
Yeah, they want me to do the lettering. Yeah, to make it special, you know.
So who do you work with their marketing department?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know.
Oh.
Sometimes it's like they're a group like the investment group or so. You know, I work on different projects with them. So.
But that has to be, like, just with anything, it has to be hard, like, if it's a group of people that you're trying to make happy,
Oh yeah,
as opposed to
Yeah.
one decision
Yeah,
How
maker.
much time do you have to do a project like that?
yeah. The amount of time varies. This one, that one, I had 2 weeks.
For the new one?
For the new one, I had 2 weeks to do the finish, the ideas to the finish.
And that one was longer?
This one was probably a little bit longer. Yeah,
Gotta tell you, 9 ladies dancing is just my,
yeah. Isn't that fun?
Oh, wow.
I can really see the work you put into it, though. You just look at compositionally. You know, I was just looking a minute ago, like where everything is, and it has a flow, it has angles, it has all those compositional things. It
Right.
makes it look like you're not thinking about that, like, oh, I'm just being whimsical and I'm just
Right.
laying color down. But I can tell.
Right. See, this could be a sheet of stamps,
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, I mean, every one has something. It's
Yeah.
design, you know.
There is a design.
Yeah, everything is thought about. Yeah, I don't do anything without thought.
Right. And it shows.
And that's why it's really hard for me to do simple. Because I'm always, maybe we need to add something, you know? No, don't add anything. Yeah. This was another great client. This was the National Parks. I got to work on the Junior Rangers program. This was the Junior Rangers passport program. So like they give out passports to kids, and then whatever park they go to, they get a sticker or something like that. They put in the book. So this was a whole bunch of places, and again, a little different. And it wasn't always like a location, as you can tell, you know. Like this was a location, but I didn't mean to focus on the bridge or whatever that you stand on, you know. You can see the Illustrator and like the great shapes and the transparency. I'm still using my background of watercolor because I always loved watercolor. You know, so I'm always using transparent colors. Like the fish are actually like, I think they're just 2 color. You know, and the way they overlap the colors, and then some of that, just a little bit of black line. And I started doing a little bit of this texture. Again, less is more. Even buildings. And trying to make something like this fun is hard, you know, but so I just try to play with the design and try to make it interesting for me. Ben Franklin. Again, the transparent colors and, you know, and using white space. I just love using negative space. I love showing what's not there without really showing it. If you know, because your mind fills stuff in anyway all the time. So, am I way past time yet?
No, you're good.
Okay, good. Here's some newer stuff. This was for Mount Lebanon magazine about the community. They did like all the survey. It was like about a survey of things to make the city better. And they had there's a little, it wasn't a company, but they created this entity, and they had a logo, and the logo had these 4 colors. So I just took that little logo and just used their colors exclusively. Again, making it simple, really. It solved my problem, you know. Is it going to be orange, or is it going to be gold, or is it going to be blue or pink? I don't know. Let's just make it. So it's complicated. It's hard to do all this stuff, to figure it out. Aw. This is a dog. A little bit different from when I was a kid with that little Dalmatian I drew. This drawing ended up at the airport at gate B31. And I don't know what's going to happen to it. Again, they just put it up like wallpaper or like a cling or whatever, vinyl, you know. But I get so many comments from people saying, hey, I was just at your mural, you know. I get pictures, people send me pictures.
Yeah, it's selfies.
And so it was the perfect image, though, because they were looking for some artwork, and I sent them a couple of ideas. And I thought this was like, if you're coming home from a long trip, you're trying to get home and you want to see your dog, right? So it's like everything. It just makes you feel good. So. And that piece is called Almost Home.
Well, if you're standing online, it looks like you're in the scene.
Right. And other murals, so we talked about the Permane murals. This one is in Erie. This is one of my favorites, just because it was at that time, they were kind of letting me do what I wanted more, like letting me experiment with like the composition, with the size of people and things like that, to make it a little more interesting. Because I was doing, there's a lot of them that are way too many people. I mean, I'm putting like 120 people on a mural. It's really not that big, so it becomes a sea of heads. That's all it is, you know. And I know that's a thing also, you know, but it's more fun to have a little bit of flow and, you know, things for your eye to rest for a second, you know. And so they're starting to, there was a big chunk of time where I was doing so many people, but now they're starting to like pull back a little bit, and they're even letting me pick who's going to be on, because usually it's always like sports people, and they tell me, you know, you need to have all these sports people. I was like, all right, and then I have to find photos of them though,
Right.
and so that's hard. So like half of them are like mug shots, you know, or like these crazy poses of them running with their, you know, tongue hanging out. It's like, what? I don't know, you know, it's really hard. And then a lot of people there's no photographs, like some of these old guys, there is no photograph, you know? So I make them up. So I find one that's like the oldest photograph I can find and kind of just do a version of that person, right? Those are my trade secrets. Don't tell anybody. Here's a little focus in. And so I work on these in Illustrator. I draw them in Illustrator. And then I bring them into Photoshop, because like I had said, the original one I painted in the Strip District. Oil paint on the walls, it's still there in the Strip District. And it really sucks. And I keep telling them, you need to like get rid of this mural and have me do a new one, because this is like, I'm so embarrassed that this is even here. But they don't listen to me. They're like, no, we got to keep it. You know, it's like, oh, geez, okay. But anyway, and so they started building all these new permanents, and I was like, I can't paint. I can't go to these places and paint all this stuff. So we came up with this routine of I do them on the computer, and they print them out, and they put them up like a big vinyl. And it's actually a lot easier, and it's much cleaner and all that. And so this is just a little detail of something. So again, I am working in Illustrator, and it's very flat. Like you've seen some of my Illustrator work, it's very flat. But I bring it into Photoshop, and there's this thing called Alien Skin. It's a filter, and you can make it look like all these different kinds of art materials. And so I go to what I'd like, oil paint, thick brushes, canvas or something, and I do like a little bit of another hard pencil, just a little bit in the background here. You can see that scratchiness. But if you look at it, it totally breaks it down into these like really cool shapes and stuff, Like I didn't do that, but this filter does it so it looks like it's painted. So it actually looks like I painted it. And it even has like highlights on the brush strokes, But there's Bruno Sammartino. Here's the red beans and rice, which is no more.
Very sad.
I'm trying to get it back though, but we're going to try. But it was a really fun band. This is the cover I did for the latest CD. Playing around, again, just a few colors. And the old style where the figures are just gradated black, transparent over top of the colors,
That reminds me of the Mad Men.
Yeah.
The guy would fall out of when the show began. The guy
Oh,
was
okay.
falling out of the
Uh-huh.
building or something, remember?
Yeah.
Because of, Madison.
I never watched that show.
Oh,
Yeah.
Madison Avenue.
Yeah.
Advertisers.
Yeah, I knew it was a good one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and then there was another guy, I don't know if you remember years ago in the 80s maybe, I think his name was Robert Longo. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
And it was people, it was just like guys in suits or girls in black dresses in these like crazy like poses, like something's happening to them, like falling, but it's just like stark white and then them, in these shapes, upside down or contorted, whatever. But he was really cool, and that kind of inspired me also, Like I said, you never know what's going to inspire you. And just the fact that I remember names is like amazing to me. Because there's the band. We have matching suits, or we did. And my drums. I love drums. This is a set custom painted. I painted these, so yeah, really nice. So here we're getting into some fast forward. And I'm still doing the courtroom drawings. I don't do it, it's just not as popular now because you can get a lot of cameras in a lot of places, but federal, you still can't have cameras in the federal courthouses. So this was the day after the synagogue shooting. And this was like his arraignment. And you're there, and it's very quick. Like things like this, like the arraignment is just, he comes in, sits down, the lawyers, blah, 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 to themselves, how does he plead, blah, 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 something, and then that's it, and then they're gone, So you got to try to do something. So like this is like when he first came in, I try to take a snapshot in my head, like boom, like, have it figured out.
Because you're not allowed to take a picture with your, at all.
Oh, no, you can't, that's why I'm there.
I mean, like a reference one,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
no,
That's what I mean, you have to do it.
You have
within
to,
that
so in that second, I'm kind of taking mental photographs of what's happening. Like I'm not trying to draw him immediately as he walks in. I'm kind of watching what's happening and then.
So is that marker?
So I use a little bit of scratchy pencil real quick. And then I use fountain pen, black ink, because I really like to draw. It goes all, I'm just so comfortable in drawing. And if I screw up, I do screw up drawings of people, and I'm not very happy about that. But I'd rather have the directness of it, of being there, and the drawing. This is, and so I draw with pen, and then I use marker, and then I do maybe a little bit of pastel. I have pastel pencils, and I use brown paper or gray or brown paper.
So do you just sketch it while you're there and then finish it off later?
Yeah, I'll finish it off in the hallway.
Oh.
Because they want it. They want it immediately. So
How did you get 4 faces in there, though? That's incredible.
it's easy. To draw,
Yeah.
It's and there he is, slime ball. But this was I really like this drawing's really good, because that was him, man.
Yeah.
And he was like a little overweight and like doughy and just like. And then you fast forward to 2023, where they have the actual trial going on, and so I got called in for quite a bit of that. I wasn't there every day, but this was I've done a lot of trials, but this was the toughest. I actually cried at this one. Yeah, it was awful. They played the 911 tapes, and it was horrific, But this was a really nice drawing of the judge, I thought.
Yeah.
Again, the marker, and then I'll do just a little bit of shadow of marker on him, and then there's some like that pastel pencils. And then the very last thing, I'll do the whole thing, and then I get the white.
Those highlights.
And I,
Yeah.
do a guy's collar in like a couple of strokes of white, man, oh man, the whole thing just pops. Here's a full room. And I really like to do like the whole scene, and they don't show them much, like the TV doesn't really care about that. They want to see the person,
Yeah.
But they appreciate it. The reporters appreciate it, because they're usually the ones putting the story together, so it gives them a little more content too.
Now they can take a picture of your drawing, or you sell it to them, or?
I sell the rights to it. Yeah. Nowadays, it used to be, I would take the drawings out, and they would have a guy with the camera, and he would like film the drawing, like zoom in on it and zoom out, And now I just take a picture of it and email it to whoever I'm working for,
Well, this is you can have it, but this is how much it costs.
Oh yeah.
That's set up prior to going in.
Oh yeah. I don't go in unless I'm getting paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then if they want to distribute it to the rest of the media,
I have to. Everybody, it's what do they call it? It's what are the rights called? Yeah, single usage rights. So I sell it to everybody. I sell this. I tell them, just like here. Well, I'll get to this in a second here. This is one of the last days, and he would always do this. He would come in to the room. It was like a sitcom, like he was Dick Van Dyke, like da 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 da. He'd come in, like this, and he'd be rubbing his hands because he's wearing high handcuffs. He was always rubbing his hands. But he was such a piece of shit. It was amazing. He just wanted to hear it. He loved to hear everything that he did, And he also he also loved to hear about how smart he was, because they were testifying about how his computer system was really did it well. And he made it so it would self-destruct, and they couldn't get anything off of it. They couldn't believe it. Like the FBI guys were like, we can always get something. We couldn't get anything off of this,
Really?
Yeah. The only thing they got was some stuff where he had done chat rooms or something where it was more than just him or whatever. But anyway. So this is a couple of weeks ago, or in December. It's that Luigi guy, Mangione.
oh, yeah, we give it
Yeah, yeah.
You did him?
And so I did him. I drove out to wherever that was, Altoona. No, Altoona. He was in Altoona, right? And so from the synagogue thing, I knew a lot of people. Like I knew the guy from CNN and the reporters and stuff. And so they were also here. So it was really nice to. I have a connection, and for the Luigi, it was because it was so quick, and there was really nobody around. And there is one other girl, and she's super nice, but she can't draw at all. And so I let her do the local stuff. Katie K can have her, I don't care. But I worked for CNN, NBC, CBS, Fox, and TMZ bought the drawings, which are in the documentary, whatever it is. It's on Netflix now. They use some of my drawings in there. But I sold all those, So that was, again, I feel bad about that. It's like I'm profiting off somebody else's misfortune, but everybody's profiting. These lawyers are like freaking insane, drag it out for years. But anyway, and so this really caused a lot of trouble. This never happened to me before, but now the new day and age, I put them on Instagram. I was like, and I did it like respectfully and like, kind of more of a history thing, like I was there, this is it. I got so much hate messages and like these awful things, like constantly from like these supporters of his. Right. And so I had to shut down all my social media for like a month. I just shut everything down. And I was like, I took everything, like everything was private. Even my website I took down. I was like, this is ridiculous, until they all went away, and they did, But that's a whole new thing to deal with.
Yeah. Jeez.
And then there's Double Dog Studios. My wife and I, Patricia, bought this crazy place in 2019.
If I could just interrupt you for 1 minute, Leah online, she just wanted to know, did you get paid to be featured in the Netflix documentary?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Nice.
Yeah. They paid me twice.
Really?
Well, they paid me for one thing, and then they paid me to be in that too. So,
Nice.
yeah. So we bought this crazy place. We're going to downsize, but it's a big building, and it is a cool place to be. So you need to visit us if you haven't. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So we have other artists there, as well as my work. We have a little gift shop, kind of my work, but our office is there, so I'm in there working all the time. But I'm doing a whole bunch of new things of just personal work, again, just to promote at the studio here and to do it. We do a couple of art shows a year. We do the Mount Lebanon Artist Show. We were doing Handmade Arcade, but we stopped doing that. But there's a few others.
Are you on Instagram now with Double Dog Studios?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
So I
Instagram,
follow.
Double Dog Studios, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please follow us. And so again, these are all just from my head and for me. I mean,
What's the story on this picture?
well, we have a little dachshund mix, and he's a finicky little guy. He does not like rain.
I see.
And I love the little guy. I'll do anything for him. So this would be like me, out there, right,
Oh.
And so I call it devotion, this one. Yeah. And so I do these pieces more just for the art's sake, and if people like them, I have prints and people buy them, and, So that started a whole new thing, and I'm focused a lot. You see a lot of this personal stuff on the dogs and cats and things like that. And mainly because I see how much joy it brings. People are always smiling and laughing at this stuff that I do. The other thing that I do, I don't have any shown here, was we do pet sympathy cards, which is the other end, So like people are crying. I look over, somebody's reading the card and crying, and there's somebody over there laughing. It's like, at least I get all of it, right? At least it's creating an emotion,
Right. Yeah. That's what art's supposed to do.
right?
Yeah.
So again, another new piece. newish. Playing with Illustrator, playing with design, playing with color. This is actually done in Illustrator on the computer. This is somewhere up in McKeesport, up on the top. I took a photograph of the house, but there was a couple of houses behind it and things like that. But I kind of created my own scene here. I call this one the watering hole. Of course, there's a dog in there.
Yeah.
But this is like a kind of an ode to Hopper.
Oh.
You know, that just like classic, strong, the white against the blue sky, you know.
The red.
Yeah. And I really like how I was able to capture the sunken and awful brick roadway, you know, that cobblestone, how it is sunken. It's just really a bad cobblestone, you know. So just by playing like the direction of what brick was going where, trying to create that. And I liked also how I had the wires, or so many wires everywhere around in Pittsburgh anyway. But the wires go right out of the picture frame.
Right.
There's like so many wires that it's outside of the picture. This is a newer one. This is my little dog with the pearl earring. This is an actual painting. I'm trying to get back into painting. This is acrylic. I'm using acrylics just because they dry fast. You know, I still have some oils, and I go out and do some plein air things like that. I love to do that, and I would love to do that a lot more. But here's a little painting. No concept, no funny concept, nothing. You know, color and shapes. So I need to do that too, to whatever, rearrange my brain a little bit. And there's me. This is a show I had at our place a few years ago. And that was a nice painting. Somebody purchased that. And I think that's it. Yeah. Any questions?